In general, there's two different types of bows that you use for small game hunting and really any type of hunting. Number one is going to be the recurve. This is your traditional style bow. I really like that for small game in particular, especially anything that's going to be moving. If you're trying to take ducks out of the air, if you're trying to shoot running rabbits in the snow, that instinctive style of shooting is much more conducive to moving targets than a compound bow, where it's really robotic and you're getting locked into a certain position, you're becoming steady, taking a breath, and hitting your release. I'll talk about some shooting tips later, but again, for more stationary stuff, the compound bow has more benefits, and truthfully, for moving targets, the recurve has way more benefits. So they both have their pros and cons. Obviously, shooting a recurve, you're gonna want a little finger glove to kind of protect your fingers and be able to shoot a little bit more. And then you're gonna want a release, which I actually have clipped on right here. And this release will really help you be more accurate with a compound bow. So that pretty much wraps up, high level pros and cons between the two different types of bows. Now I'm gonna talk about arrows, and then I'm gonna talk about tips. So in general, you have two different types of arrows. You've got a flu arrow right here. That's gonna be your most popular arrow for small game hunting. From a safety perspective, anytime you're shooting in the air, right? Anytime you're not shooting straight into the ground and you're shooting in the air, you're gonna want a flu arrow. It's gonna stop the arrow from going really far, and it's going to slow that arrow down, and it's gonna be really easy to find. So you're not gonna end up spending a lot of money losing arrows. So again, any type of small game hunting that's up in a tree, whether it's a squirrel on a limb or a grouse flushing in the air or a duck coming to land in decoys, flu arrow is the way to go. And then your other option is your traditional style arrow. Both of these are traditional, big game style arrows. I brought two of them today to tell you a little bit about something I learned, and I hope it helps you as a tip. This one here is your standard carbon style arrow. It's got a lot of flex and it doesn't have memory. So when you bend it, it returns to straight. That is the arrow I recommend you hunt small game with, because as I start talking about tips, whether you hit the animal or whether you miss, you shoot these arrows a lot, and you want the arrow to be able to return to straight so it has consistent impacts. This one right here is an aluminum wrapped carbon. This thing has more memory. So when it hits, if it bends, it's gonna stay bent. That's not good, because if you shoot it a lot, it bends over time and it becomes inaccurate. So for small game hunting, I really recommend a carbon style arrow that's gonna stay straight for you. High level, that's everything I have to talk about in terms of the different types of arrows. Now let's get into the tips, because that's by far the most important thing when it comes to small game hunting. By far and away, my favorite tip for small game, universally across the board, is this claw style tip. You're gonna see it sharp on the front, and it's got 4 little claws in the back. What that does is it allows the tip to be effective in killing the animal, and then it stops the arrow from burying in the ground. Again, it makes it really easier for you to refine that arrow. Not as important on a flu, but very important if you're gonna be shooting a standard style arrow. So this claw style is a great option for everything from squirrels and rabbits all the way to birds. This next tip is a field tip. Believe it or not, is not for small game hunting. It is not for harvesting animals. I wanted to make that pretty clear. Can you use it for small game? Yes. Should you? No. This is for target shooting. So this is for sighting in your bow and shooting targets, and that's pretty much where you're gonna end with that tip. Next, you have a broadhead, and broadheads come in all forms, shapes, and styles. You have fixed broadheads, which is what this is, and then you have an expandable. You can use broadheads for small game, but what you're gonna find is you're gonna really dull these things up. And really, the only time you'd use a broadhead on small game is if it's really large small game. So a Canada goose, for example, or some people might consider a turkey small game. That's where you'd want to use a broadhead. Anything smaller than that, there's really no need for a broadhead. Really, that's where you would switch into this claw style tip. You have to remember that when animals are small like that, it's really just the shock factor that's killing them. So there's even blunt style heads that are just flat, and that'll work for harvesting small game as well. The last tip I wanted to talk about is this blade style head right here. They come in a bunch of different sizes. I have an extra large one right here, and I have a medium one right here. Those are great for headshots on geese and turkeys. They're also great for anything that's moving. So again, if you're hunting rabbits in the snow and you're trying to shoot them running with the recurve, or if you're hunting ducks that are coming in, look at how much more surface area that gives you. So it gives you a little bit of wiggle room in your misses, right? So you might be off 6 inches and the duck's wing is coming forward and it clips the wing and takes it down, and then your dog can go get it and you can finish it off, right? So between all these heads here, really the two you're going to use the most for small game hunting are the claw style or the blade style broadhead. And at a high level, that really covers everything you need to know about tips, arrows, and the different types of bows that you can use for small game hunting.